Not that other you cannot have a stable economy, you cannot have a growing economy. And that is true whether you are a small economy, a medium-sized economy, or a developed nation. Without reliable and affordable sources. Unique. If you put that commodity in the hands of government around the world, the marriage automatically into geopolitics becomes clear. It cannot be managed any other way. So when you look at OPEC meetings in Vienna, those are governments there talking about production levels, or rather not talking about production levels, as it may be now. So in a very unique case when it comes to energy, and that's why the interconnection of energy and foreign policy for the United States, yes, they were right when they said we were late. We are late. We should have had an Energy Bureau of the State Department 30 years ago, if not 40 years ago, if not right after the 1970s crisis. And here's the other thing, we don't talk a lot about the United States. Today, the United States is a superpower when it comes to energy. Now, we're not supposed to talk about these kind of terms, but we are. And it's not because when I came to the State Department to help start this bureau in 2011, it's not because in that year we were at 5.5, we went from the leading importer of gas to now being an exporter and soon to be one of the largest exporters of gas. It's not because we went from 5.5 million barrels a day of production of oil just a few years ago to now in 2015 peaking at 9.5 million. We added, just the delta was more than a Kuwait or a UAE. That's how much oil production increased in the United States. But it's not only because of gas and oil. It's also because when it comes to renewables of wind and solar and geothermal, it's here. It's when it comes to innovation, it's here. When it comes to R&D, it's here. And high technology, high-tech innovation in the energy sector is not only in renewables. What's happening in the oil sector to make it more efficient, more effective in natural gas and oil is similarly driven by efficiencies in technology. And therefore, we're truly a superpower in energy. And even if we don't see it that way, everybody else around the world does, wherever I go. You cannot escape, therefore, the fact that when we make this kind of a transition, which is a meteoric transition in the last few years, you cannot expect that not to have an impact on how the rest of the world is going to see us. And I know we're talking a lot about natural gas. And even though the price of oil has gone from over $100 a barrel to $26, $28 at the low, and now we're back up above 50. The price of gas has remained, the price of, in that period of time when the price of oil declined, production in the United States has obviously gone down by several 100,000 barrels a day. So from 9.5 million barrels to below 8, to below 9, 8.7%. But in gas, that hasn't happened. So even though the price of gas has declined significantly inside the United States and around the world, production has remained relatively stable. But I want to explore gas a little bit further, because I think this is a critical turning. No, just like the example of the 1970s where oil was being used as a weapon for geopolitical purposes, gas today in different parts of the world is being used as a political leverage, as a political weapon against countries. And that is because of the static nature of natural gas has been for many, many decades. You traded it via pipeline, which is essentially a Catholic marriage between producer and consumer. You build a multi-billion-dollar pipeline, you're going to use it. And that's going to be your supplier, and that's going to be your customer. It's static. But what's happened alongside of the shale gas revolution in the United States is advancement across the board in the gas sector. Most importantly, you don't need a multi-billion-dollar LNG terminal in order to be able to trade in gas. I'm going to make a couple of examples. And my favorite obviously is Europe, where I spend a lot of my time. As a result, as a legacy of the Cold War, the Russian pipelines that stretch from Russia into Eastern Central Europe dominate the market. And several countries get 100% of their natural gas from Russia. They also have no other infrastructure that will allow them to import gas from anywhere else. In Western Europe, that's not the case. There are LNG terminals, there are pipelines coming from different countries, from different parts of the world. You have free trading, but not so in Eastern, Central, and Balkans. There it is static. And therefore, I think that's where the opportunity lies. So what we have seen, along with the rise of the gas production in the United States, these new innovations. One, I can get LNG terminals today, what refers to as an FSRU, a floating storage regasification unit, essentially a boat that docks near your shore and is your LNG terminal. And for that, by having floating LNG terminals, we can change the dynamic and create flexibility in the market. Because that terminal now can buy gas from anybody who trades LNG. That's why we gave the seed money for the feasibility study for Lithuania when they wanted to go forward with an LNG terminal. Here are 3 countries, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and the Baltics, that have been penalized for being dependent on Russia throughout their history. And all they had to do was sign a contract with Hoga in Norway to build a ship in Korea, which allowed them to renegotiate the first ever renegotiation of a contract with Gazprom to reduce the price to real market prices versus the gouging that they were suffering from before. There is no accident that LNG terminal, that ship is called the Independence. But we cannot stop there. What we have to do is we have to create support, as the United States support our allies and friends around the world, in Europe, in Central America, in the Caribbean, in Asia, to understand that we can put together the kind of infrastructure to put that in place so that you can make that more flexible. To buy American gas, to buy Israeli gas, to buy Qatari gas, it doesn't matter. The point is to create the kind of infrastructure that allows everybody, every country, to take advantage of technological advances to free themselves from the dependency that they have. And make no mistake, in every country that I go, in every head of state that I've spoken to, in the privacy of the office, says this is one of the most important and critical national security threats that my country faces. How can I talk about sanctions on Russia after Crimea if they can turn off the heat in the next winter? That's not an argument in the abstract. They say, look at Ukraine. They did it in 2009, they did it again in 2014. Why would they not do it to me? And what are my alternatives? So if you want me, Amos, if you want, the United States wants my country's support on these issues that you're asking me to do on things that have nothing to do with energy, you're going to have to help me figure this out. I cannot be that victim. But it's entirely doable. If you look at what's going on in the Eastern Mediterranean, with the Israel apparently finally getting out of its own way and getting a deal done with Noble Energy and its partners to allow the Leviathan, this giant Leviathan deal to be developed. Look at the opportunities. We already got one small test case deal between Israel and Jordan on a small pipeline, which will be complete at the end of this year. And guess what? 20 years of peace between Israel and Jordan. It's the first infrastructure project that actually physically connects the two countries. And the second one will be signed. I'm confident of that. Very soon. Egypt used to sell gas to Jordan and to Israel. It is likely once again to buy gas now through similar interconnections with some modifications. It is importing LNG today, but it doesn't need to do that for very long. So if you look at a region from Turkey to Egypt as anchor markets with Cyprus and Israel and Jordan and the Palestinian Authority, we can have an area where energy is not used as a tool, as a weapon of foreign policy against countries, but rather as a tool for cooperation, integration, and interconnection. That's the two sides of the coin. That's why developments in gas and energy are so important to our foreign policy. But it's not only that it creates integration, it creates economic interdependency and economic sustainability and prosperity, which could lead to enhanced stability. That's the foreign policy goal of our own, right there. But for Europe, that goes a step beyond just stability in the Eastern Mediterranean and a new approach to the Eastern Mediterranean. It also could mean a destination for the Eastern Mediterranean. Europe is close by. And if we can put the infrastructure in Greece, where it would interconnect into Bulgaria, and you know it as well, you started the IGB, and bring gas from the Mediterranean to Greece to interconnect into the rest of Europe through Bulgaria, maybe later through the Balkans, this is a real game changer. But it won't come on its own. Just because the gas becomes available, it won't come on its own. In Central America and the Caribbean, we have a similar situation, where countries have become not dependent on the oil itself, but dependent on the scheme called Petrocaribe of Venezuela that put them into debt. But here too, it's the corporate and technological advances that are going to change it. Because if you are the Caribbean and you have 12 months of sun, wind, and geothermal capability, you should be taking advantage of it. But you're also on the border with the United States, where we have the cheapest and most abundant gas supplies. But if you have a scale problem, you can't put gas to the Caribbean because of the scale. It's not economic. Except that now it's becoming economic. Now we see that just like the FSRU, just like that floating LNG terminals made it possible to diversify and make more flexible, democratize natural gas, we can do the same by making the supply system. Now I'm talking about barges and smaller ships, and the ability to be able to take advantage of the American market in the group. Because remember where we were just a few years ago. We had $18 to $21 in Asia for gas. We had $12 to $14 in Europe. Today we have about $8 in Asia and $7 in Asia, and now we have about $4.50 in Europe. This is the window of opportunity. It's a window of opportunity for the United States. It's a window of opportunity for Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, Cyprus, Greece. And it's a window of opportunity in the Asia Pacific to take advantage of these prices now, to take advantage of the fact that we can put the infrastructure together cheaply and with greater flexibility and change the dynamic. This is a changing market. We have gone from a dominant cutter supplier for the world at about 100 BCM. And by 2020, the United States will be close to that, and Australia could possibly be greater than that. We're taking one supplier and tripling it. That's changing the world. We're not in an energy revolution because we discovered shale. We're in an energy revolution because everything is happening at the same time around the world. That's important for every country, but I believe that we can take it, we are and we can and we should continue to take advantage of this. Not as some have accused us in the press that we're just trying to, everything we're doing is to create markets for American gas. It's a nice fight. But because it's in our interest to diversify this sector, to create a different kind of world that is built on this opportunity. And I firmly believe it is possible, but I equally firmly believe that this is in the national security interest of the United States. This is not only about economics, this is about politics. And therefore it should be about our politics and about our national security. And it's hard because we're in Washington where we talk about energy in almost 1980s terminologies only. When we talk about renewables, when we talk about gas, when we talk about oil, when we talk about coal even, it is all in old terminologies that do not understand that we have gone through in the last 5-6 years a fundamental change in the energy markets. Tom Friedman's bring on $200 oil because that he thought that's the only way we can get renewable energy. That world's gone. We don't need $200 oil. We had the best year in renewable energy at $35 oil. In the United States, we had investments of $45 billion in new investments in renewable energy in 2015, the lowest oil prices. The previous year at $100 oil, we had $38 billion investments, and worldwide at $330 billion. And when I got called up to the Hill to testify about gas exports, I was told that, aren't you worried that prices in the United States are going to skyrocket? We were at $4.50, $4.75 at the time. We're now at a high of $2.50. So I think the more we export, the more we integrate with the rest of the world and offer American